All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about something pretty wild: how a handful of companies are basically rewriting the rules of business. We're talking about the new monopolies, the ones that are shaping our future. So let's just dive right in.
You've probably heard of Warren Buffett. He has this great line. He says that in most businesses, competition is like gravity. It's just this constant force that pulls everyone's profits down, right? You're always fighting your dumbest competitor, and it becomes a race to the bottom on price.
But here's the kicker. What if a company could just defy that gravity? I mean, what if they could build a business that isn't just successful, but is actually protected from competition, like structurally built to be untouchable?
And that's exactly what we're going to dig into. We'll look at how they pull this off by focusing on a few key areas. First, creating these unbreakable networks. Then, how they build the essential tools for the future. And of course, how they create these massive kingdoms of data. And then we'll tie it all together and figure out what it all means. So, okay, first up, defying economic gravity. The big question is, how do they actually do it? I mean, it's not just about having a slightly better product, right? Or some clever marketing. No, it's way deeper than that. It's something structural. The secret? Well, it's a concept that Buffett himself made famous. It's called an economic moat, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Imagine a castle with a huge moat around it. That's the business. It's a structural advantage, a barrier that's so strong it's almost impossible for competitors to even get close. It's not about playing the game better, it's about rigging the game in your favor. All right, let's talk about the first type of moat, and this one's probably the easiest to wrap your head around. It's the unbreakable network. This is all about when the users themselves are the source of the company's power. This whole thing is powered by something called the network effect, or if you want to get technical, Metcalfe's law. Sounds fancy, but the idea is dead simple. The more people use a service, the more valuable it becomes for everyone. A single fax machine is just a paperweight, right? But with 1 million of them, you've got a communications revolution. And if you want to see this in action, I mean, just look at Meta. We're talking Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. That's over 3 billion people. Think about that scale. Meta doesn't just own some websites, they own the social graph. They own the digital map of who knows who all across the globe. It's staggering. So this creates what economists call high switching costs. And here's what that really means. Let's say you try a new soda and it's terrible. You're out, what, $2? Big deal. But leaving a social network like Facebook, you could lose 10 years of photos, all your contacts, your friend groups, your entire digital history. See the difference? That's a powerful moat. And you see this outside of social media too. Take a company like Shopify. It's not just a tool for building a store. It's a whole ecosystem. You've got millions of stores, thousands of app developers, countless theme designers, all plugged into Shopify. The bigger that ecosystem gets, the stronger its gravitational pull becomes, making it almost impossible for a store to leave. Okay, on to our second kind of moat. This one is about building the future's tools, or more specifically, controlling the infrastructure. So instead of owning the network of users, these companies own some kind of critical, absolutely essential piece of technology that everybody else has to use. And there's this fantastic analogy for this one. If you think of semiconductors, the chips that are in everything, as the rice of modern civilization, well, there's one company, ASML, that makes the only farming tool in the world that can grow that rice. So check out how deep this supply chain goes. It all starts with ASML. They build these incredibly complex machines, these EUV lithography machines. They're the only ones on the planet who can do it. Then a company like TSMC comes along, buys those machines, and uses them to make over 90% of the world's most advanced chips. And who are they making them for? Well, companies like Apple and, super importantly, NVIDIA, the company designing all the AI chips that are basically building our future. It's a chain of dependency, and ASML is at the very, very beginning. So you might be thinking, why doesn't someone else just build one of these machines? Well, a single one costs around $200 million. And it took them decades of research and development to even get there.
The barrier to entry isn't just a high wall. It's a fortress made of money and impossibly complex physics. And this ecosystem lock-in isn't just in semiconductors. You see it in public safety with a company called Axon. They started with a taser, right? Then they added body cameras. And now they have the cloud software that stores and manages all that data. So for a police department to switch to a competitor, they'd have to replace the entire system. The weapons, the cameras, the software. It's a total nightmare. So they just don't.
All right, that brings us to our third and maybe the most powerful moat in the 21st century, the kingdom of data. This is when the data itself, just raw information, becomes the company's ultimate unbeatable advantage.
You've heard the phrase a million times. Data is the new oil. Well, it's a cliche for a reason. And companies like Google or even the more secretive data firm Palantir, they're the living embodiment of this. They don't just collect data. They've built the world's most advanced refineries to process it. Let's just take Google as the classic example. To say they dominate search is, frankly, an understatement. We're talking 92% of the market. The company name is literally a verb now. But the real question is, how do they keep that massive lead?
It all comes down to this brilliant self-reinforcing loop. It's a virtuous cycle. It goes like this. More people search on Google, which gives Google more data. They use that data to make their search results better, which in turn attracts even more users. And the cycle just keeps going, getting stronger and stronger. How does a competitor even begin to break into that?
And this idea of a data empire goes way beyond search. Look at Amazon. They know what you buy, sure, but they also know what you watch on Prime Video. Through AWS, they host a huge chunk of the internet. And with their logistics network, they know where you live and when you're home. Or take Tesla. They're not just a car company. They have a whole fleet of vehicles out there collecting real-time driving data, second by second. That gives them an unbelievable edge in developing self-driving AI.
Okay, so let's zoom out. We've seen the network moat, the infrastructure moat, and the data moat. Let's put all the pieces together and look at the big picture here. What does this all mean when you combine it? So when you look at all these companies, you start to see the same pattern, the same threads. It all starts with that deep structural moat. Then they add these network and data effects on top, so the bigger they get, the stronger they get. That creates those high switching costs we talked about, which makes it super hard for you to leave. And all the while, they are using that power to position themselves to win the next big thing, whether that's AI, the metaverse, you name it.
You know, the great investor Peter Lynch had this idea that when you buy a stock, you're not just gambling on a price, you're actually becoming a partner in a business. And when you think about these specific companies, you're not just partnering in any old business, you're partnering with the very companies that are actively building our future.
And that really leaves us with one last thought. And this one's inspired by the legendary Peter Drucker. He said, the future isn't something you predict, it's something you create. And these companies, well, they are definitely in the business of creating the future. They're laying the groundwork for the world we're all going to live in. So the final question for you is, which of these futures will you be a part of? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.